My name is Roland Slade. I'm the artist of the day. This is my artist talk. What we're going to talk about is what I do, and that is video collage. Thank you for all coming. I truly appreciate it and appreciate the support. Those who came for Benton reaching out, appreciate him and appreciate you as well. And those who came specifically for me, I love you. I love you. Thank you. This is something new for me. Well, somewhat new, because I've been at the Bruce Gallery a couple of times from my wonderful mentor who couldn't be here today, Lisa Austin. And I'm going to call her that. She's kind of been my mentor. She's a teacher up at Edinburgh. So let's get into it, guys. Once again, welcome to the feed. I personally don't know all the history of the feed, so we're just going to say go to feed.art and you can find the rest there. I know there's a great video of a tour of this place. Anybody who's originally from Erie kind of knows the history of this street, this building, what it used to be, furniture store or something like that. So Benton's doing some wonderful things here and we appreciate him. Hi, I'm Roland Slade. Let me take 2 minutes, if I can sum it up in 2 minutes, to tell you about myself. So, I grew up in Pittsburgh. If you guys didn't know that, I was an artist from a small child all the way up to high school doing fine art. I had a wonderful teacher, Ann Marshall, who ushered me into really driving my art, took me to art shows, got me to go to the Governor School for the Arts. It's a place where fine arts, theater, dance, and something else. It's a defunct program that was here in Pennsylvania, and I went to that. Went to IUP, as I was sharing with Dr. Rhonda, got into video with a sketch comedy show. I'm putting some of those out one day. I still have some of those videos of me, a skinnier me, being kind of funny. And then I moved to Erie after having a couple kids through college. Moved up to Erie and then got divorced, got remarried, and now I'm doing video art. I met Lisa Austin through Sawyer Baez, and she showed me pretty much an artist that was doing what I do, but in a different medium. Oh, what is video collage art? I'm sorry. The best way to describe this is like when you did a collage in school or at your last vision board party. Take a bunch of magazines, in my case videos from the internet, and cut out objects, then paste them on a poster board. In my case, I take those clips and put them into my favorite video editing software. This is Fred Wilson. This is the guy who inspired me before I even know who he was. Two of his more defining pieces to me in what he did. One is cabinet making, and as you can see from that era, it's a bunch of high-end wooden chairs alongside a whipping post that they used to whip slaves on. And as you can see, Fred Wilson did not make any of those objects, but because he pieced them together, that's what collage art is. This piece over here is called metalwork, and he has the fine china with some slave shackles in the middle there. So those pieces, matter of fact, he was at his early stage in his career, he got brought into Edinburgh to do a talk. Now this guy is so popular, now we couldn't even get him. He's blown up like that. So hopefully that'll be me. After this talk, right, baby?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so, we didn't want to go that fast. Wait a minute, I wanted to say something. Okay, so we don't got no little kitties in the house, so just gonna be some cursing, stuff like that. This is a piece that I did that was in the, was it the Line show? It was a Bruce Gallery show called Let's Pretend. Let's Pretend, I apologize, slipped my mind. This is my piece called, it's not called that, racial profiling, typo there. So I'm gonna play this short, less than 3 minutes, and this kind of will give you a base of kind of how, what my art is, and you'll be able to draw some messages from that. and then I'm going to pass it to Dr. Rhonda, and then we're going to start kind of having that discussion.
Did you see any white people in there waiting an hour and 32 minutes for a plate of spaghetti? Huh? And how many cups of coffee did we get?
You don't drink coffee, and I didn't want any.
You know, I just leave it. It's fine.
No, it's all good. My apologies. I got it.
Actually, I think it's time for all of you to leave.
TJ, thank God you're here. How'd you find me? It's the only chicken and waffle place in all of Holland.
This is the only dining hall that you can actually get yourself some chicken and waffles.
I ain't did nothing wrong. You racial profiling me.
As the owner, I reserve the right to dismiss you from the premises.
I was harassed as a black man.
So a black man's got to be at a chicken and waffles place.
You too black to profile another black person.
That's racist.
Look at me and look at you.
So if I think I see a gun, I don't hesitate. I shoot.
Got any drugs or weapons on you?
No.
I was a black man. A dangerous black man.
He fit the description of a carjacker we've been looking for.
Man, that woman in there poured cup after cup to every single white person around us. But did she even ask you if you wanted any?
You are black as fuck.
All you people see is color.
Please go. I don't want to have any problems with you people.
We didn't get any coffee that you didn't want and I didn't order, and that's evidence of racial discrimination. Did you notice that our waitress was black?
I didn't do nothing.
You think you tough? That's all he could see. A threat.
And black women don't think in stereotypes?
Scared now. I like that.
You tell me something, man. When was the last time you met one who didn't think she knew everything about your little lazy ass before you even opened your mouth? Huh?
That's why I took this job. I hate little motherfuckers like you.
That waitress sized us up in 2 seconds. We're black and black people don't tip. So she wasn't gonna waste her time?
Little niggas, you ain't shit.
Now somebody like that, nothing you could do to change their mind.
A lot of gangs congregate in this area. Are you in one?
Think you're tough, huh?
Why are you pointing your gun at me, officer?
Blow your head off with this influence and you couldn't do shit.
Look, the owner straight profiled us, okay? We didn't do nothing wrong.
I've done absolutely nothing wrong.
What set you from?
But you did get into a fight in the store.
Look like one of them Crenshaw Mafia motherfuckers.
An argument with my little brother doesn't mean I'm in a gang. It doesn't mean you are.
No, you probably one of them rolling 60s, huh?
Your kid
Can we go now? Hey, watch your tone.
was in the wrong part of town.
I'm gonna ask you one more time. Where's your ID?
You gentlemen have a nice evening, man.
Okay. All right, and so do you want to put up the questions, or do you want
No,
me to
just-
talk?
just-
Okay. All right. So I'm Rhonda Matthews, and I am here to kind of guide us through a discussion about the kind of a critical social, political, and cultural analysis of the work. So one of the things that Roland does best is talk about celebrity and its importance in the Black community, especially as a critique of celebrity. And so I think probably one of the first things that I want you to talk about, right, is why this, right? Why racial profiling as your primary topic of this piece?
As you can see, there's a lot of messaging in that, right? And I think that's kind of what I do, is that it's not one defined message from me. It's what does it speak to you? There's a lot of thought processes that racial profiling comes from white against black. But as you can see from the video, there's a lot of blacks who racial profile other blacks. So I wanted to draw that out in the message, and I think that even more so today, since, say, George Floyd, we've been talking about race so much, it's almost nauseating. how everything is based on race. So when I made this piece, I wanted to put it in our face. Okay, so what is our responsibility when we look at someone's race first in profile?
I think that's a good, I actually think that's a good place to start, because part of the discussion about race always comes to people who are members, who identify as, a member of an ethnic subgroup or race, right? And the question is always when there is, when something happens and people point out the very obvious point that, race is a factor in this, then what we get questioned about is, well, why are you always bringing up race?
Yes.
Right? So I guess that's my question. Why are you always bringing up race?
I think it's because us as human beings, we respond to what's presented to us, right? That's why kind of back in the day, lighter skinned blacks can so-called pass for white, because even though they were black, they presented white, so they got different privileges. And it's very difficult because of our subconscious. We act differently from our perception of when someone's black. When I walk into a room, I'm not 6'5", but I am a bigger guy. I kind of carry different, right? So people look at me a certain way. Now, don't get me wrong. I do believe that there's good people out there that see you for who you are, definitely. But the main construct of America is pretty much what we see. And then what is our preconceived notions about that person immediately. How we deal with the homeless, not just race, but socially. How many of us clutch our purse when we walk past someone who isn't presentable? The saying goes, you'll give $1,000 to a guy in a suit, but not a guy who looks all tatted. It's how we present. So we have to deal with it.
So how does your art, talk a little bit about how your art provides a larger platform for people to talk about these kinds of things?
Well, social media is huge right now. I remember way back in probably 2011, 2013, me and my wife, we were watching YouTube, and this was in the early days of YouTube. And a lot of videos were coming out exposing things. Exposing messages in music, saying certain things about how, hand signs and stuff like that. And I looked over at her and said, I think I want to make a video. And it started there, and I have an innate ability to kind of recognize these things, and so I started to make videos doing that. So now fast forward to 2023, I see people in their early 20s making these types of videos. And you take all the different platforms that are out today, I said, yeah, why not? I have the ability to reach, thousands. I have a YouTube, an Instagram page has 18,000 followers. Now my regular art page, it's got like 30, but I built up this persona called the Cleves Report that when I started my YouTube channel, that's kind of where I was at. 6,000 on YouTube and now 18,000 on Instagram. It's like a big projection stream, and you're projecting out onto the world. And I'm not like everybody else. I'm different. So I always brag, and my wife would tell you, when people were making making videos back then, there was a thing where you would put background music, right? My son's, since he was probably 7 years old, I gave him a beat program called Fruity Loops, and he was making beats and rapping and stuff. So I had him make my background music. I didn't take it from Rage Against the Machine or, They were doing like rock backgrounds, and I put hip hop beats, and I laid that foundation. And I feel like, I'm not the one, of course, but I kind of started that trend of putting out music. So, you couple the music with the visuals, and it's a telling message. People respond, back when, I don't know if you older people in the crowd remember when videos were like 15 seconds on the internet. Yeah. And we've grown all the way now. You can put a 10-minute video up, right? But now we're going all the way back to right around a minute 30. It's kind of where people soak stuff in. You can get the message, you can get in and out in less than 90 seconds, you've captured them. So that's kind of what I do. I hit you in the face. Like, this is kind of long, this is an artist thing, but now I've kind of mastered the 90-second piece where you put the visuals in their face and they respond to it big time. I mean, you'll see people in the comment section going back and forth about it.
So your 18,000 followers on Instagram. So is that, do you think that people respond more to the fact that you don't call yourself an artist, but you create art? You know, is that, do you think that the label of artist is off-putting for people when you're using, I mean, you're using popular culture pieces, right? But when you call yourself an artist, you don't have 18,000 followers. But when you are a persona on Instagram, you're doing the same thing. You're just not calling it art. So what is the cultural takeaway from that then?
The very thing that I'm trying to break. This is going to be hard to digest, but we worship celebrities. We worship celebrities, and when I play the persona and I call them out, it's one thing. But if I call it art and you know it's a message, you don't want to hear it. So you're drawn by the provocative. So, like I said, everyone who follows isn't a fan. You get what I mean?
Yep.
So they may be followers, but they're coming to defend Beyonce. Oh, this is nonsense. She's not really doing that. She's a church girl. You know what I mean? So they come to argue the point. So that's the reason why the persona does so much better than the real life artist. Artsy people follow artists.
Okay.
Culture follows
celebrity. Okay. All right. So now come on.
And persona.
Let's talk about celebrities, right? Because when you think about art, you do think about the types of art that people that we label as, well, maybe I shouldn't just say label, people who are certified celebrities produce, people like Jay-Z and Beyonce, etc. So do you consider their work to be art?
Oh, definitely. I mean, music, it's all art, but I think that now the culture has shifted to where entertainment, Hollywood, the music industry is not so much art as it is industry.
Okay.
And it's industry that manipulates us through worship to guide us to do things that they want us to do, not what we want to do.
But are art and industry at odds with one another? Can they coexist? Or are you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that true art has always rebelled against industry.
Okay.
That's why, and all you artsy people out there, I never said that I was an art historian. Short story. My first year at IUP, I went to an art education class. First day, sitting in the class. I'm in the second row, all the way to the right, against the windows. The teacher puts up test. First day.
Oh.
Puts up, she didn't put them all up at the same time. 50 slides, name the artist, the title, and the genre. I swear to God, I didn't know one.
Not one?
Not one.
Okay. That was a pre-test.
I'm from the hood.
It didn't count. Please tell me it didn't count. Ouch.
I think it counted, but I never professed to be an art historian. Anyway, there's a guy who literally put a urinal out as art and signed it, and that was the art. He just, it's rebellion. I think it was during the pop art era or something like that. but my point is art has always been the outcast.
Okay.
So when you start saying that art is now industry, like Basquiat, Basquiat now is mainstream.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not with us anymore. But point being is that.
Well, but he is.
Well, yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Because industry.
Yeah, industry, exactly.
And
now millions of dollars for that painting when I think he didn't have that kind of money when he was living.
He died impoverished.
Impoverished, yeah. So my point, they've made him industry, and now they're benefiting off of him. I mean, look at all your major Sam Cooke, James Brown, all died poor. They got perverted by the industry and literally just got ran through. They don't own their masters. They don't own their, a couple of guys nowadays may own their masters, but as you can see, everybody's selling their masters now. You get what I mean? So now they don't even have anything to leave their kids. This is the stuff that I talk about, is why are we worshiping the people who are just part of industry? They're not making true art. I'm not against music. I'm against celebrity.
You see me thinking, because I have to tell you, there are some celebrities who produce what I consider to be art, but it is part of industry. Like, I consider, let's just talk about one song. Video. I consider Ape Shit to be art, right? Because it does a couple things. It latches on to classical institutionalized art, right? She took over the Louvre, right? Which was a statement in and of itself. Look at these black people all up in the Louvre. Like, we rented this thing out and look what we're doing, right? And then every shot in it is literally an ode to classical art, right? Read White art, right? So this intersection of celebrity and art, though, exists. So how do you, when you're talking about your art and when you're talking about the ways in which celebrities produce art, I'm gonna put art in quotation marks because of what you just said. So when you're talking about that, then how do you account for that kind of work? How do you account for Ape Shit? How do you account for what is the Jay-Z song about OJ? What is the song?
Help us out, y'all.
Why is it escaping? It's on the 444 album.
I know what you're talking about.
Story of OJ is the name of it. It's the Story of OJ. That's the name of the song, Story of OJ, right?
You talking about where he drops the art verse, where he buys the art or whatever?
No.
Okay.
I'm specifically thinking about that music video, which is drawn and cast in every animated stereotype of black people you can possibly think of, but over the lyrics, that are talking about self-determination, capitalist enterprise, right? So how do you square those two things? Like, there are celebrities there who are presenting art to the masses. How do you address that?
I'm so glad you said that.
Okay, thank you. Tell me.
Okay, so Ape Shit specifically, right? And I had seen here in town, we had a couple of functions that kind of celebrated that. And on the surface, I can see where the celebration can come in at. And when us as black people, we're starving for representation so much that we'll get drawn to something like that. But the action, while well intent, falls short for me. Here's the reason why. One, you said it best when you said they rented out. So the Louvre got paid.
Oh yeah.
Louvre got paid. Yeah. So.
And they continue to get paid because people now keep coming for the Ape Shit tour.
There you go. So that blows my mind. Anyway.
Okay. So, but there's an industry part that you're talking about.
That's exactly. Okay. And when there's a verse in the song where Jay-Z says, because of the earlier beef with the NFL, he says, y'all need me, I don't need y'all. So through Kaepernick, who I'm not 100% in support of, but nevertheless, coming from that to Jay-Z now walking toe step along with the NFL in a brand deal where you're supposed to be bringing through the NFL change program, right? And I don't care how many bottle of waters y'all deliver somewhere, that's not change. So all they really did is they put a check down, they silenced you, and now they bring a great Super Bowl show every year, right? Because now he can leverage his relationship with Rihanna, with Kanye, or whoever else is under his umbrella. So they silenced you. So yes, you started maybe with a great thing. Okay, let's go to the Louvre, let's do this, let's bring all this art, let's put these messages out there. But then you literally quench the very thing that you're trying to do. Now, let's go to the story of OJ. Great visuals. Totally agree with that. Matter of fact, kind of what I do, right? Art. But it's still problematic because when you're talking about an artist, everybody know who Tupac is, right? Okay, so everybody loves Tupac. Tupac is Dear Mama. Help me out, somebody. Another great song by Tupac that brings all this positivity, but then he got strictly from my N-words. You know what I mean? Now, somebody from the hood like myself, I can embrace that. But what I'm saying is that you still have this duality. You have this, you got this one positive song over here, but then you got this other song where you're talking about, breaking my brother out of prison and him getting shot and killed. And don't get me wrong, that's storytelling. But where is the moving us forward, where those songs bring us out of? So that's where I say those particular things in a bubble, they look great, absolutely. We can celebrate those. But once again, it brings us to, we celebrate this, we prop them up as celebrity worship, and now we follow them into a place where, I thought we was kneeling. I thought we was against the NFL. Oh no, because Jay-Z said it's okay. Now we can be for the NFL. You get what I'm saying? So now, fast forward to this year, right? Great Super Bowl show. What did we? Well, I mean,
no. Seriously, I forgot it was on.
Oh, okay. So for the masses, great Super Bowl show, right? But what did we have leading up to that? We had two black men who literally put their life on the line for our entertainment. You had Hammond, who basically died on the field, and what do? They rush him back to be, as a prop, right, in front of us, celebrating him, right? And then the quarterback in the previous game for Kansas City, I think was it a leg or something like that? He almost broke his leg, and they put him back in the game. You get what I'm saying? So it's gladiators. Are you not entertained? So what I'm saying is and there's a lot of white people in the house, but we as black people, how do we progress forward through celebrity for basically, let's say 30 years, we have had black excellence in entertainment. Where has it gotten us? That's the criticism for the culture that I have, is that it's not progressing us anywhere. Where are intellectuals standing up and saying these things? I don't need Jay-Z to tell me how to be black. When you really work for the system, for industry, just a puppet. That's what these pieces do. If you see the piece out there, celebrity activist that's playing out there, if you go to my website, or you go to, not my website, but you go to my Vimeo page, you go to the Cleves Report, you'll see these things. This is the stuff I talk about. I'm not against any individual person. I'm against systems. The very music industry that we're speaking of prostitutes all their artists. You take the beef that Puffy just had with the rapper Mace. Mace said, I got the money. Can I buy my masters back? Nah, you good? I ain't letting them go. Michael Jackson died owning the Beatles catalog, right? Where is he at now? He's dead. That part of Sony ATV is sold, and now they're talking about negotiating the rest of his catalog to be sold by his estate. Why? Why would you do that? Name me one celebrity black artist that has ownership over anything, and I will debate you all day long and tell you they don't own it. Brand deals are not ownership. That's criticism of the culture right there. That's the problem that I got. And we worship these people as if they own something, and they don't. So how are you going to lead me somewhere? And that's why we don't own anything. That's why we don't understand that we need to own a grocery store in our neighborhood. We need to own a gas station in our neighborhood. We need a school system in our neighborhood. Take ownership of it. Yeah, you can redline it, but guess what? Where's our development companies at? If they can develop, why can't we? Where we stand right now. Just develop this, what's this? Couple $1 million? Why couldn't we do that? Because we don't own nothing. But Jay-Z tells us go get a liquor deal. Go get a shoe deal. Can't do nothing with that.
Okay.
Can we take some questions before we close?
Yes. Yeah, you really got me thinking. We're gonna have to talk about this. Yeah, so let's what questions or comments do y'all have? And keep in mind, we cannot see your faces.
Look like black blobs, right?
Y'all are in shadow.
So, who are some activists we should be listening to rather than celebrities?
Roland Slade. I mean, I'm not Martin, but I can get us to the mountaintop. I ain't lying either. So, yeah, Johanna. Yep.
Oh, I was so the way that you're describing celebrity, it seems there's at once a critique of complicity, but then also like recognizing that these people are victims in and of themselves. Like when you say things like they don't have access to their masters. So like, how do you like deal with that tension between like complicity versus also suffering from the system?
And for me or for them?
How do you deal with just that tension in the idea? In your critique, there's that tension between victimhood, for lack of a better word, and then also complicity.
It's difficult. I'll say that a little bit, my heart does go out to them as victims, right? I think that sometimes to get out of poverty, you'll do some things, you'll compromise some things, you'll say, man, I just want to get out of this. So somebody comes to you with a check for $50,000 and says, sign here, and the papers is this thick. What do? One, you probably don't have anything better than a high school education. Number two, even if you hire a lawyer, the lawyer's pretty much in cahoots with them, so they're going to rubber stamp it anyway. And then you don't even understand the concept of what you just took. You just took a loan that you got to pay back. So even with all of that, even when they know, they'll still sign. Because I personally believe, and this is where the battle comes in, I don't really think it's about the money. I think it's about the celebrity. I think a lot of these guys really want to be famous. They don't want to be rich. Because guess what? There's plenty of people in the music industry, there's plenty of people in Hollywood who get in, make the money, and get out. There's plenty of people who are doing the work behind the scenes. Who you think's writing these songs? You know, they don't have faces. So yeah, I battle with that a little bit. But the biggest of the names, no, I don't. I really don't. Matter of fact, me and Dr. Rhonda was talking earlier before you guys came in, and she said, they know what they're doing. Here's an example of why I have such a disdain for, like, for instance, a Jay-Z specifically. Jay-Z is from Marcy Projects in New York. The city of New York used Jay-Z's influence to get an area in Brooklyn sold so they can build a new arena for the Brooklyn Nets. They wanted to move the Nets from New Jersey to Brooklyn. In that deal, they gave him 1% ownership, right? They paraded that in front of us as Jay-Z owns Brooklyn, Brooklyn Nets. Nobody really believed he owned the Brooklyn Nets, like alone, of course. But what's 1%, right? Is it enough to really do anything? And then what, 2-3 years later, he sold that for profit, of course. And now that neighborhood, I guess you can say gentrified for lack of a better term, the people from that neighborhood got pushed out in order to build a stadium, and they used Jay-Z to do it. How do you reconcile that as a black man to do? I don't even know who those people were. I don't know if they were black, white, or whatever. But how do you do the citizens of New York, the citizens of Brooklyn that way? So that's what I'm saying. Where some of these guys I feel bad for, but guys like him, he's been doing people dirty for years. Even as an artist, how many artists has he screwed over? Shelving their project, not letting them get the money that they need to make. Go ahead.
I'm completely not in defense of Jay-Z, although I do like his music. But what I will say, though, as a black culture, I think putting too much weight on any person as a leader to change your life and to change your environment, I learned quickly that's not true in any aspect, whoever you're following. And so I would argue that the idea of excellence as a concept has pushed us forward. And I would say that from what our organization is doing, what other black and brown people are doing, by seeing that it's plausible, gave us the energy to even try it. And so I get your perspective on Jay-Z, and I agree with you. I do think he's a snake. I think any billionaire in the world got a couple bodies underneath them. That's a fact. But I also think to negate the fact that visibility can support movement in itself is ignoring everything in black history that we know. Martin Luther King was marching, but most of us never saw him. I didn't. I was too young. I was born. But most people didn't actively sit with King. It was seeing a black man on TV say something and not be afraid. And so by negating the power of just seeing the possibilities, I think that that's a powerful message in itself.
Great question / statement. No, do not get me confused. Not negating at all. And I'm actually not holding Jay-Z specifically responsible for moving the culture forward. In the criticism of black excellence, what I'm saying is that don't prop up Jay-Z. I'm talking about from a media perspective. That kind of goes back to this isn't him. This is them. This is the system. This is industry. Don't prop him up to us as black excellence ownership when that's not the truth. Now, to your point, can a pocket of us pick that ball up and run with it? Absolutely. And I don't negate that at all. If you can take something from it and not a negative, that's wonderful. The problem with that, though, is that's not the masses. We have so many who fail to move forward because they think or in the reverse, everybody wants to be a rapper. Everybody wants to be a ball player because they see that. So, like I said, there's a duality with it, but your statement in totality, I agree with. I'm not holding him, it's not his job. But don't give it to me as something that's supposed to be moving the culture forward when it doesn't. That's what I mean. But yes, Black Wall Street looks at that and says, yeah, we can do it, or the Beyonce at the Louvre. Some of us can take that as a positive, understand what it is for what it is, and then run with it.
Yeah. First, if you're using the word celebrity in its broadest sense, I think that applies to all people, regardless of race, color, creed, or anything else. Could be a celebrity in almost any field, anywhere, and you have the same kinds of issues. The one aspect of it that and it's probably the reason I'm here, is that I have the same feeling you have about celebrities, but on a broader scale, and basically ask the question, why do people really care about what celebrities have to say when they may have no training in anything, right? No knowledge of any consequence. But boy, do people really pay attention to that. Now, there's the financial aspect of it, absolutely. That's maybe the driving force of it. But why do average people, all of us, maybe at some points in time, care about what anybody says. When they're interviewing some, like Tom Cruise on television, and they're asking him about a social issue or some kind of thing, I don't care what Tom Cruise has to say about anything. You know, and I think that's my feeling about celebrities of any race, color, anything. You know, why do we care?
I totally agree with you. Yes, this is definitely a problem across all cultures. The reason why I speak specifically about black celebrity and black folks in you know, it's because I'm black.
No, I get it.
You know what I mean? And I see how it affects us for not having a lot of representation outside of celebrity. Whereas when you talk about such as yourself, you say, well, I don't care what Tom Cruise has to say. But there are a lot of white people who do follow a Tom Cruise or a Tom Hanks or Bill Gates or anybody else, right? But you also have plenty of intellectuals to follow. You know what I mean? There's also, while you may suffer from the same issues, for us specifically, this is being propped up as our intellectual. That's why my piece that's playing out there is called Celebrity Activists, because you may have celebrities that are activists, but our celebrity activists are the only thing we have. That's why I can't even really answer Bing's question, well, who do we look to? I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know. That's why I said, well, listen to me, because I'm a good point. But
you have plenty of black celebrities that are extraordinary, that are visible, that shout, that have a voice. There are those people that we hear, there are those intellectuals, or those artists, or those authors that have an extraordinary voice, but they may not have a presence. I'm thinking of Walter Mosley as a specific author who has extreme visibility.
But hang on for just a second. How many of you read a book by Walter Mosley? Raise your hand. Okay, but that's not half the people in here.
But
keep going. I'm going to come back to it. Keep going.
Okay, we have Karen Pear that is a representative of the government. She has been an activist for years. And there's so many people that I can't think. I don't have the names because they're not in my brain at this stage. But I would say that we have a presence in terms of the voice and an intellectual presence. The problem is that the country is not moved forward by these people, regardless if they're white, black, or from anywhere, for that matter. That is not how a society moves forward. But those people have an importance, and there is a presence. This is where I disagree with you.
Not bigger than Jay-Z's. That's the point I'm making. I totally agree with you. The problem with that is no one's picking up a book from Walter Mosley that's following Jay-Z. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Is how do we get Walter Mosley at the forefront with the same...
We can't.
No, because he's not making a widget that somebody wants to buy.
No, we can't.
He's not financially viable, that's all.
But I think but here's the thing. Through this work, we can. What I'm trying to expose is saying, look at the contradiction of what you guys are following. The reason why it doesn't resonate with you is because you don't follow it. But there's a plethora of young people, and guess what? Old people who literally have these people in the forefront of their brain is literally their leaders. So it's my job to bring that to their understanding, to detach them from that. The person in the back here who spoke about being able to take that and run with it, they're not looking at it like the people I'm trying to break free. They understand it in context. Oh wow, I see a black person out there doing positive things, I can do positive things. And then I take it and run with it. But unfortunately, that's not the majority. So how do we deal with the 80%? If there's no one like me telling you, hey, look, this is the reason why this is problematic. This is what, and we're picking on Jay-Z because he's just the forefront of what we're talking about. But this is what he done to you behind closed doors. This is what he pushed out. He did this, he told you this, but did this. Oh wow, he did that? There's a lot of people who have no idea. They think these people, because the biggest thing that I get, the biggest pushback, what you guys said who disagree, you had an intellectual point of reference and you push back, and I'm okay with that. But you know what the internet says? But he's rich. But he's rich. You hate him. You hate him because he got money and you don't. That's what I see. You get what I'm saying? The world we live in today isn't in the library. That's not who we're trying to reach. The person who has a library card, they're good. I don't need to reach them. I'm trying to reach the tens of millions of people who their point of reference is social media. They're literally getting their news from a meme. Do you understand how many people share incorrect memes with me? Who literally follow this stuff as news? That's the generation that we're dealing with.
So what, I think the answer to your question, I know, the answer to your question is systems, right? And there have been a couple of people who've made statements that we really need to put in a broader perspective. So Roland's art is trying to break systems of power, hierarchy, and access, right? And so when we think about this in terms of systems, it makes sense. So your point about there being all kinds of folks out there who are role models who've given us this information is absolutely correct. It is absolutely correct, right? But who gets access to that information? So let me tell you a way that art changed something significant in my life. How many of you have read Battle Royale, which is the prelude to Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man? How many of you have read that? Okay, no one in this room has raised your hand. I stopped watching professional sports because I read that short story, right? But I was in college. And not only was I in college, I was at HBCU, right? So it was required reading for me. And, you know, then I took a sociology class, right? And I learned how to refine my critical thinking skills about systems, right? And then the more I learned, the more I understood what he wrote in a broader context. But I had access. And then I had the ability to talk about it critically in college classrooms. So that's part of what's happening, is that this is accessible. Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man is not as much as we would like for it to be. And so I think that that's part of the processes of power that we're talking about. When we talk about this, when we talk about art, and when we talk about celebrity, and when we talk about who gets affected by those things, it's really important to remember the power structures that are in place, because they are structures. We're not individuals. We're members, you know, of all types of systems. And so I think that helps people to understand it when it's placed in that, you know, when it's placed in that kind of perspective. I think people understand it a little bit more, because it should be easy. You should just be able to go pick up a book and read and be like, oh, I'm enlightened about this thing now. Let me go get another book. But we don't operate that way anymore. We don't. Go ahead, Ron.
Another question, and then to the gentleman's point, I'm not sure if we were closing in an hour, but before we close, I did want to show the piece that's showing out there to give a little bit more perspective to the talk. Take a couple more. Anybody? Yes?
I did have a question on what's your advice as to how to get to the masses? Because even when I think of those leaders that were intellectual and they were philosophers, they still only touched a percentage of the community. So I think about King and his approval rating being less than 30% when he was alive. Now that he's dead, everybody loves him. But even people of color were not agreeing with his message when he was alive. So what would you say to how to affect the masses and move the masses versus moving those small pockets?
We have we have to start at the beginning. So, example, right here in Erie, right? We're in the 16501 zip code. Poorest in the state, some would say poorest in the country. We have a natural food desert before the EDDC put the Whole Foods market downtown. The food at the Whole Foods is probably 20% higher than at Save-A-Lot. right? So, but Whole Foods is convenient, and you can find deals in there, and if you spend a little bit more money, you eat healthy, right? The problem isn't that we're in a food desert and now we put food down here. The problem is the people in the 16501 area code eat wrong. So you'll never have the majority eat from the Whole Foods until you fix what's in here, the eating habits, right? This is eating habits. So how we move the masses forward is to wake them up, shake them up, so they can have your perspective and say, use it as a tool, don't worship. That's why I bring the messages that I bring. That's why they're in their face. That's why they provoke emotion. That's why a lot of the stuff that I'm saying, probably a lot of people in here are a little upset about, because it's not what we want to hear. Even the passing fan who thinks they're not worshiping don't want to hear it, because really you are worshiping. You a fan of that. You know what fan stands for? Fanatic. So when you a fan of something, so we gotta cut the cord of fandom, and then we can move forward. But until we heal, we'll be individuals. Ooh, that just brought me to Al Pacino on Any Given Sunday. Ooh, that was a powerful speech. I just stole that last part from there.
That was good. That was a good choice.
Yeah, till we heal. You had your hand up. In the front, somebody?
Well, I was going to say that for you to have an audience, like some of us as artists that do not want to be part of the system, want to be true to ourselves, you have to change all the educational system, but then how you have to educate children to let them have a voice, permit people to dissent, not punish, encourage. How do you do that when corporate, everything is run by corporate? Corporate is power, power is money. Even though you speak as a black man, I feel you hold a mirror to all of us. So I want to compliment you about it, and it's very understood and very clear. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Rhonda said something earlier, kind of on the same line of that.
Were you talking about capitalism?
Yeah, with breaking free, how she had spoke about kids and how they're being punished and sticking in the system, and how art shouldn't be about money. That's what we talked about. Mm-hmm. But see, the thing about this world is that you need dollars to live. There's no doubt about that. But I think that the way school systems have changed, I'm a product of public school education. I literally spent 4 years of fine arts with one woman, literally got out of other classes to be in her class. When I tell you this woman mentored me without me even knowing that's what she was doing, that's a tiny little white woman, and I love her for that, because she taught me how important art was, right? You can work a 9 to 5, but you can still do your art on the side. But we have to separate that. We have to teach kids that art is still important in whatever form. So, and to my point and your point about being dissent outside of the corporateness of it, I think that's our responsibility. I teach at the Art House every Wednesday. That's the program over here on 10th and, is that French? Say that one more time? Holland. Yeah, 10th and Holland. And just to be engaged with those kids so they can see, not all of them look like me, but some of them look like me. And I know it's good that not just being a man of color, but being a man, right? So a lot of school systems don't even have men there. And I think that we can affect kids, but we have to reach down and get them,
Well, and one of the things we were talking about earlier, I don't want to put this on Roland, I was talking about it, is that, capitalism is not the answer. Not the way that it's been structured in the United States, because it's a predatory system, and its only purpose was to create structures that kept people enslaved. That's the reason that our current system exists. And if you look at the ways in which capitalist economic structures are working right now in the United States, there's no difference between now and 1619. There's not, except that there have been some loosening of some strictures. And so the system is not designed for dissent. Capitalism does not allow for dissent, right? As you know, you were just talking about when people on the internet, when you start to attack their fan, the people that they have a fandom about, you know, who make all this money, even if it's an accurate critique, people get upset about that. That's not a personal or a social kind of thing. That is rooted in this economic system that, I was gonna say that we inhabit, but the fact of the matter is that it inhabits us. And so when we start talking about art, this thing that is not there for profit, right? It's there for art's sake. It's there to move the culture forward. It's there to message. It's there for beauty, for thought, for critique, for whatever, right?
Not for profit.
Not for profit. When you start putting it in those, when you place it squarely in that system, then that affects us from childhood on through. So having a system of art and culture that is rooted in profit means that when your kid comes to you, you're a working class parent, and your kid comes to you and they are talented already, right, in some form of art, that your question to them is, well, what are you going to do with that? You can't make money with that. Right? That is not, what that is not a product of what you might think it is. That is a product of our economic system, right? And I would argue that that's dysfunctional. So I think that when we're talking about Roland's art, we have to think about it in those terms. It has to be a much bigger thing than just us talking about who's a celebrity, whether or not we think the celebrity's art is actually making a difference, if it's advancing the culture, etc. Is it teaching? Whatever it is, I think before we even get to that, we have to talk about the systems that the art inhabits, and the ways in which you're trying to shed light on those larger systems.
Or like the story of OJ.
Like the story of OJ.
Yeah,
right.
Because like I said, at the end of the day, phenomenal message,
right, with
even better visuals.
Right.
I mean, and even at that time, and if you guys haven't seen what we're talking about, just Google Jay-Z story of OJ, and it'll take you back to the 50s, the 40s, the 20s,
those cartoons,
where all the now banned cartoons, which I don't agree should be banned.
I know you don't. I know you don't. This is a long-standing back and forth.
We were supposed to have that.
We were supposed to have this conversation. Like if I won, when the lottery was up to $1 billion, like I was ready. Because if I win the lottery, I'm buying up Negrobilia and destroying it. The little mammy salt shakers and stuff like that. Like, I want to take a hammer to that shit. And Roland does not. He thinks we ought to have it around for historical purposes, to remind us from whence we come. So,
yes.
Yeah.
We were supposed to have a debate, a friendly debate, at the Bruce Gallery, and the powers that be.
Yes.
Kind of cowbossed it, See, that's why we gotta have ownership, right? See, we had our own school and our own gallery. No, guys, listen. We can sit here and talk a whole nother hour, man. It is freezing in here, so we don't want to hold you too much longer. If I can have, I think somebody had their hand up in the back. We'll take one more question. We'll watch this 4-minute video, and then we're going home. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Roland. Sorry, it's autumn. I know.
Hey, what's up? I can't see your face. I can't see you.
Listen, I've been burning on this question, but your wife over here has been talking my ear off. No. It's been a great conversation. This woman, I adore her. But I'm just curious, this kind of goes back to earlier conversation conversation points about your focus on blackness within the industry and that artistry. Could you explore the nuance between white and black artists? Because I'm thinking about Taylor Swift and her process and just even owning a composition of her master's work, which now Scooter Bronner, I think, owns because it was produced under the company of his. So is there a nuance between her lack of ownership versus that of other black artists who themselves can't even kind of manage that?
So the easy answer that everybody wants to hear is exclusive for black people. And that's not the case. Just like the gentleman up front said, across the board, the music industry is the devil and everyone is the imps. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, don't matter. Oh man, Bob Dylan just sold his masters. Yeah. Man, what's not Dixie Chicks, but anyway, I mean, there's bands from the past. I mean, even the whole Michael Jackson thing, remember the Beatles, Paul McCartney couldn't buy his own music at the time because he couldn't afford it, told Michael Jackson about it, and he bought it behind his back. So, in the reverse, Michael Jackson was the predator, right? He took the information and ran with it. You see what I'm saying? So no. Taylor, matter of fact, Taylor Swift is even the only thing I could say for Taylor that would be different from anyone else is that she was empowered enough to be able to say, you know what? You want to own my masters? I got a fan base that's so good, I'll just re-release it all. I'll just re-record it. I was like, is that even legal? Yeah. I was like, that was thorough, right? Yeah. So I'll just re-record it all and then, you know what I mean? And I don't see any black artists doing that. So
Ashanti did.
Ashanti did do that?
That's right,
okay.
she did.
I didn't. You just learned me something. I did not know Ashanti pulled that move.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's.
Art. You understand?
That's so empowering as an artist to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
But see, the problem that I have, and I'm gonna say this in closing, with artists in the music industry. So basically, your typical deal, even if you have leverage and you don't get a 360 deal, which means the label owns a percentage of everything you do. Let's say it's just about the music. You go into a typical contract, you'll get some upfront money, and you'll go into, let's say, a 7-album deal, right? If you're lucky, 5. You're still they're still empowered to take the album if they want it. So let's say you're successful, and you end up on the other side of the trick bag with making the label a bunch of money. You're at the end of this deal. You satisfied the albums, and now you're ready to re-up again, right? And let's say I'll even give you this, that you were smart with your money. So you literally are sitting in a position, don't have to re-up with the label. Any music from here on in, you can produce yourself. You literally have the money to go into the studio, record your own music, market your own music, and you don't have to take another down from the label. But what do? They go right back into the trick bag. They take $2.5 million again from the label. They get whatever marketing they want. They go back into a 3, 4, 5 album deal, and it starts the process all over again. Now you got Kanye West coming out 5, 6 albums later, still in the trick bag, right? He cannot even retire. Even in this nonsense that he just pulled with everybody thinks, oh, he's a genius because he said all these things to get out of his brand deal and all this other stuff. It's nonsense. He's still in the trick bag. And guess what he did? You did all that crying and snotting and I don't want to deal with Adidas no more. What did he do? He back in the trick bag with Adidas. Come on, y'all don't see it? That's what I'm saying, but guess what? The masses doesn't. They think it's a come up. See, he got him. But you just went back into the trick bag.
But if you don't understand systems, it's easy to fall prey to. Right?
Help me.
I'm trying.
That's where the frustration comes in. You talk. Let's get back to Jay-Z. You got Duce. You got Ace of Spades. You got 40/40 Club. All of this stuff. Brand deals. Collaborations. Zero ownership. Zero. Now, I'll say this to your point, right? When you literally have nothing, when you coming up from the muscle, right? So let's say me. One of the things I pride myself in this city is that nobody can buy. I will not link up with anyone who isn't just trying to support, right? So if Paul Mitchell came in tomorrow and said, here's a salon, you staff it, you fill it, do what you need to do, no thank you. You trying to give me $50,000 to buy a $150,000 building? Notice I say give, not loan. You writing a grant, I'll take it. But anything that doesn't allow me to have ownership, I don't want to do, right? Now, let's say Benton in this building says, hey man, let's link up and I'll front you this space and you can do your own thing. I don't want to touch it, it's you. You can do whatever you need to do, right? That would be a lease, right? I have a space. He blessed me with a space, and now I can do what I need to do. I don't have a problem with that. Problem comes in now is when you say brand deal. Now you talk about percentages. Whenever money comes in, I gotta cut this person a check, and it's taken away from what I need to do. I don't like those. Even if you have nothing. Me personally, I'd rather stay at nothing. Because that's the problem with industry, is they want to take advantage of you, of your talent, of your growth, of your skill set, everything that you do, they want a piece of that. That's what the 360 deal is. So you come out with a line of shoes, they get 10% of that. You come out with a magazine, they get 2.5% of that. You never really own it yourself. But they always own it.
So let me interject here, because I think that one of the things that we have to keep going back to is what this means in the larger systems. So Jay-Z was poor, and what we know about poverty is that it literally changes the structure of your brain. That stress literally changes the chemistry of your brain, right? And once people get out of it, they will do almost anything not to return to it, right?
Yep.
And so we even have to understand that as not individual, but as systemic.
Yes.
Right? I think that's important too. Because it's all systems. I don't think it's all systems. I don't think there's any other way to think about that, but that's what makes it hard for people, is that it's about systems and not about an individual. That's hard for people to wrap their head around when they can just look to a person and say, you did this and I liked it, or you did this and I didn't, right? It's much easier to do that than it is to think about the broader implications and the broader, population that the art is being placed in.
It takes away from color as well, because once again, we talked about Taylor Swift. We could talk about an artist called Keisha. Yep. She got screwed over on her deal. Yep. Like, this isn't exclusive for blacks. This isn't an industry that's only taking advantage of blacks. I only talk about it from the perspective of normally my audience.
Right.
You know, you gotta keep in mind, this is kind of new for me. Even when I dipped my toe in the water at the Bruce Gallery, we didn't get in depth like this. So I mean, I appreciate you guys as well for, you know, even lasting this long through this conversation. So thank you. This isn't my normal audience, so that's why a lot of the stuff I say is more race driven, because I'm normally talking to my own people. That makes sense?
So isn't your perspective, this ownership thing, isn't that a fundamentally capitalist ethic? Aren't you coming directly out of capitalism when you're insisting about ownership?
Unfortunately, I'm not an intellectual, so I don't know if I can make that correlation directly as you stated. When I say ownership, I'm saying fundamentally it's American. I mean, in order to live, you normally own where you live, right? Even poor blacks eventually own something.
There's some benefit.
Yeah, when they came out of during Reformation, we owned some stuff. I mean, you had to, whether it was a shack with an outhouse, you still owned it. I mean, the only way you can, not the only way, I take that back. How wealth is gained in this country is through land and home ownership. So we're constantly renters. How are we gonna, you can't leave an inheritance of renting.
Well, you know, I understand that, but you know, you're talking about people. I have a hard time feeling bad about, you know, whether somebody's got 10 million or $1 billion.
Oh, I don't either. Don't get it twisted. No, I agree with you. The only reason why we talk about them, once again, just to kind of go back to what we talked about at the beginning, is because that's who poor people worship. Once again, you don't, he doesn't, but that's kind of where we're at. I think, and I think that's the difficulty that a lot of us can't reconcile is that while I'm fine, the 300 people behind me, they're not. Their brain is locked into whatever they have going on, and they literally move how they're speaking to us, not just through music or movies, through commercial, through interview. I mean, right now there's a movement in the last year. There's been a huge movement on YouTube where a lot of these older artists, because they can't let it go, right? They can't get out of the limelight. They got to still feed the machine. So guys that really have been not relevant for the last 10 years, 15 years, are now doing interviews talking about the past. And I'm old enough to remember the past. And I'm sitting there saying, man, this is revisionist history. Like they're almost making stories up. They telling on themselves, they saying crazy stuff, and the public is eating it up, because now we have a whole nother generation who, Sean Combs, who had a TV show called Making the Band, where he made the up and coming artists walk 2 boroughs over to go get some cheesecake. You know, basically making grown men go fetch him some food, right? You have people now watching this and now judging it, saying, man, I go get that cheesecake. What is they talking about, right? But them same artists, they showed an old episode where, man, they basically made them sign a contract. You had one woman, and here's another caveat. You had one woman in the group who called her husband. And she is like, this contract don't look right to me, right? Husband's like, well, baby, don't sign it. Puffy's camp, his lawyers and stuff, pressured the people. If she don't sign, none of y'all get paid. They pressured that woman into signing that contract.
Yeah, and I think the short answer to your question is yeah, it is. It is. But the ways in which oppressed people in the United States have addressed capitalism is through an adaptive form of it. And I think the best way I can describe it is communal capitalism, right? In which resources are shared, and those resources can be educational, it can be information about access, it can be skill sets, it can be actual money, right? But when you think about, for instance, the ways in which many people who immigrate to the United States come here and pool all of their resources, right? And then they open a business, right? That is still a capitalist venture, but it's a capitalist venture that is not predatory. It operates within the larger predatory capitalist system, but it's a form of communal cap. We're going to put all our stuff together here, and then we're going to make it in this system that is really not designed for us. So yes, it is. I don't think that there's any way for us to get away from that in this system. When people try, they are sanctioned, and they are sanctioned harshly. They are jailed, they are blackballed, they are excluded, and so it's really difficult. They're denied access. And so when people talk about it, I think people have to often be careful about how they talk about it, because, you know, part of a predatory capitalist system is that you can't talk about the predatory capitalist system, right? So yeah, I think the answer is yes.
That's why she's doctor. You know, just roll it. Great answer. Please let us let y'all go home. Please let's play this video. We out of here. Oh, this piece right here also made it to the 2019 spring show down at the Art Museum.
You conservatives make a mistake.
It's 2020, y'all. Yeah. And it's different than when it was 2016.
You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
You know, the game has been elevated. As we can tell, there's no expense being spared. We had a black billionaire's lunch.
The filthiest people on this planet is athletes and entertainers.
You liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs.
Past kneeling, I think it's time to go into actionable items.
Oh, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
You, with this show, have done more for the humanities than 99% of all the athletes and entertainers on the planet.
The establishment now can sense that there's an awakening among black people.
But as of now, money means nothing to me, nor boxing, when it comes to the freedom of your people.
And they want to divert the attention of the young people to false leaders, people who never supported the movement, people who were passive, people who were on the fence. You understand? The Beyoncés, the Pharrells, Snoop Dogg.
Right. And we here together, and we're going to keep staying together. We getting tighter.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him.
But they've even tricked you to believe that you ain't nothing but doo-doo and they something big. They ain't nothing but a piece of shit, man.
And united we stand, and ain't nothing else.
All of them.
And it's only black people that have entertainers as spokespersons.
These leaders that they call leaders, this included Lena Horne, this included Dick Gregory, and this included comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players. Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader.
To us, black excellence.
Everything I'm doing, if it means hitchhike tomorrow, if it means be raggedy, if it means look for a job, I'll be happy because I can go to bed, my conscience is clear, and I didn't sell out or trade my people just because I could be rich in Hollywood.
He feels compelled to try to act like us. He loses his identity and his racial anger.
But I wouldn't want that damn yacht if I couldn't go back over in the black neighborhood and protest a black woman being raped. The hell with the yacht. The hell with the championship.
He becomes alien to his brothers. They realize he sold them out and they grow to hate him. He becomes worthless to them and safe for us.
And what is everyone doing? What is everyone can speak, like those Twitter people you talk, everyone can talk. Ask them what have they done.
I'm not supposed to be a spokesperson for black community. Okay, my music should empower us, yes. I should donate my money to the movement, yes. But it's our intellectuals that should speak for us, not Charles Barkley.
In fact, in his love for the creature comforts, except for his color, he's become one of us.
Do you know any athlete or entertainer that ever opened up a major company?
No.
It's not. So that's the business side of it.
These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that have been set up over the black community, by the white community, and have been made celebrities, and usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear.
Thanks, guys.